All right, I'm Dr. Jeremy Barone, and I'm here from talking to you from Barone Spinal Care and Performance. And we are here with Mary Ellen Nelson, who came in, and I'm going to go over the date of her initial visit, which was on February 16, 2012. And Mary Ellen, tell us a little bit about how you heard about our office and why you came here.
Okay. Well, I had experienced some back pain about 5 years ago and had back surgery and always had problems since. My back would get stiff or I'd get pain in my legs occasionally, and then shortly before coming in it got really worse. I was having trouble walking down the block with my dog, and I'd be hunched over all the time. So I had heard about NUCCA, and I had tried NUCCA several years ago, so I decided to look them up and found Dr. B and made an appointment.
Okay. And so talk a little bit about the procedure. You know, a lot of people think of chiropractic as twisting and popping, and you know, some people have great experiences, some people have negative experience. Explain what your experience was like when you came into the office and what attracted you to this type of procedure.
Right. Well, the cracking and popping is actually exactly why I wanted to go back into NUCCA, because the cracking and popping scares me. And NUCCA is so gentle. You don't feel a thing. You don't even realize you're being adjusted until you get up and you feel amazing. You can tell right away that you are back to normal, you're straight, you feel taller. It's amazing.
Yeah. What was that first adjustment like? A lot of times people are very skeptical because they cannot feel the adjustment. It's a light touch under the ear.
Yeah.
We just did a video yesterday of a gentleman whose heart palpitations went away after the adjustment, and he said he was so skeptical that when he left the office, he said that he felt like he got ripped off basically because he didn't feel anything happen. And then later he realized, oh my gosh, he had all this soreness from his spine shifting, and he realized, no, this is a good thing, something definitely happened. But for you, what was that like when you got the first adjustment?
Well, as I was laying on the table, I didn't feel anything at all. And actually, right when I got up and I started walking down the hall, I immediately felt different. I noticed that I felt straight again for the first time. So it did not take me long at all to start noticing the difference. And it was over the course of the last few weeks that I really have noticed day to day, I'm just so much better than I was before I came in.
Yeah, and I want to dive into that a little bit more in just a little bit, but 90% of the cases that come to Barone Spinal Care and Performance after the first correction, when they walk up and down the hall, they feel lighter, they feel looser, they can feel a difference on their feet. Immediately after the correction, now when you came in, we measured you as having your left leg shorter than your right by 1 inch. That's a lot. It's a full inch. And it wasn't because the bone was shorter on the left side of her body. It was because the muscles were tighter on the left side of her body, making the leg appear shorter. That's very important. That's called a physiologic short leg. Also, when you came in on that initial visit, your left hip was low, your left shoulder was low, and you were leaning off 4 increments on the posture stress analyzer, which is a very specialized piece of equipment that we have here that measures the body in multiple planes and how you're fighting gravity. Her body was actually leaning off to the left significantly. So if you can imagine, her left leg was short, her hip was low, her left shoulder was low, and her body was leaning off to the left. And she was like this every single day of her life. And when the atlas vertebra, which is the top vertebra in the spine, is misaligned, the entire spine shifts and it's locked in the wrong position until you unlock it. In her case, she was out of alignment for 27 years. So she would have been in that body distortion for 27 years to varying degrees. Typically, over time, the body distortion increases. So let's talk a little bit about what you experienced. It's been a couple months now that you've been under care. We just did your first re-exam, and when you came in originally, you described that you had low back pain for 5 years. You had spinal injections. Let's talk a little bit about what that was like over those 5 years for you, and what you've been through, and the frustration that you experienced with that, and a little bit more how that was interfering with your life before we get into what's changed.
Sure. Well, 5 years ago, I had major sciatic pain, back pain. I could barely walk, and so I tried a number of things.
Now, when you say barely walk, I mean, you mean barely walk?
Yes.
And how old were you at that time?
I was 23.
So imagine 23 years old, and she could barely walk.
Right.
Barely walk. So
Yes.
scary?
Yes.
Okay.
Even driving, trying to drive to work, I'd get muscle spasms while I'm driving, which scared me to death because I was afraid I'd get into an accident. And, you know, I tried all sorts of things before that. I never thought to try chiropractic because I didn't even know NUCCA existed. I was afraid of conventional. So I had injections in my spine, which helped for about a month, and then the pain came right back.
So the medical doctors, I assume you saw a medical doctor.
Yes.
They immediately prescribed injections. They just skipped over therapy altogether because they
Right.
saw the pain you were in.
Yes.
So, and then what did they tell you when you saw them? Did they just say, we're going to try these injections, and if those don't work, then what?
Then surgery.
So it was shots, and then you're going to, 23 years old, and
Yeah.
they're telling you that you have to go to surgery. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
So keep going.
So I was desperate for whatever I could do because I was barely even living at that point. And I decided to go ahead with the surgery. So I had microdiscectomy in 2007, and that improved the sciatic pain dramatically. But through the last 5 years, I've never been 100%. I've always had a lot of stiffness, especially if I've been sitting for a long time. I could always tell that I was leaning to the side. So when it got worse and it started getting back to the way it was in 2007, I
Frustrating.
thought, I'm not doing that again. I got to find another answer.
Yeah, so I can imagine what you felt like. Because here you were, 23, all of a sudden you're in debilitating pain. They're telling you have to get surgery, which I've never had a surgery, but I've had a lot of patients that have. And I can't imagine, I don't like the idea of surgery for me, and I know you didn't like the idea for you. And then here you have the surgery, microdiscectomy, which is basically, for those of you that don't know what a microdiscectomy is, where they actually go in, they remove the disc, and they fuse the vertebra. So she had her vertebra fused, correct?
No, it wasn't fused.
Oh, they didn't
No,
fuse.
it wasn't
Okay, they
fused.
didn't do a fusion.
No.
Okay, okay. But did they basically remove the disc, or did they just cut part of the disc away?
Part of the disc.
Okay, so that's a different procedure that she had, but nonetheless, it's still invasive. It's very scary. And then you have the surgery, and you're continuing the, problems are creeping back in, and we tell patients that all the time. Just because you have a surgery, first of all, there's a 50% chance that it isn't going to be successful. Scar tissue can develop, and then a lot of times you have problems for the rest of your life. And then to remove scar tissue, then there's other issues with developing more scar tissue. So that's the situation you found yourself in, and then let's pick up from there.
Sure. Years went on, it wasn't getting any better, and then I started getting worse in February. For whatever reason, I started getting a lot more stiff, a lot more pain in my lower back. I was having more and more trouble walking, so then that's when I contacted Dr. B to try NUCCA again and see what could happen.
Okay. Well, let's talk about, you had the adjustment, you got aligned, and you reported some really good things to me today. So talk a little bit about how much reduction of pain you had since the alignment, and how that's changed your life. But why don't we start with the reduction
Okay.
in the areas you've noticed improvements in?
Well, actually, the low back pain is gone. I don't have any more low back pain. I was having headaches all the time, and especially migraine headaches. And I'd be taking aspirin at least a few times a week just to get rid of the headaches and try and prevent migraines. But I noticed I haven't been taking aspirin as much as I used to. In fact, it's been a few weeks since the last time I took some. And low back pain is gone. My walking has significantly improved. I'm actually now able to go out every day at lunch, and I'm doing a 1.5 mile walk. I'm starting to lose weight, which is fantastic. So things have really gotten better for me since I started coming.
Excellent. Well, that's really, really exciting. I mean, considering what you've been through, and that's a long time, 5 years of your life in your 20s to be suffering the way you were suffering, surgeries, to continuing to get worse, and then for everything to be reversed now from a gentle correction under the ear. And that's what I try to explain to people all the time. We're talking about a gentle, very precise correction under the ear, aligning the first vertebra that ultimately restores balance to the entire body, levels the hips, balances the muscles out so that the body can function properly. And really, we're not doing the healing. It's God that does the healing, but we basically facilitate the process. And what I mean by that is you were designed to function a certain way. You were designed for your hips to be level and your spine to be on center. Once we put your body into that position, your body could heal itself. And that's what we're seeing. So your body is able to do the things that it was designed to do. And it's exciting because we see this all the time with patients. When people are in debilitating pain and it begins to affect their movement patterns and they become less active and they add weight on and everything else, it's just a downward spiral. Depression comes in. I mean, all sorts of mental illness can begin to develop as well. And the opposite of that is when we align them, and just like you're saying, you know, you're starting to exercise and you're noticing weight changes, you're starting to smile more, you're probably noticing your relationships are beginning to change because you feel better. And it's such a dramatic impact. So we're so excited of the changes we've seen in you, and we're really excited to help those of you that are viewing this right now that maybe are in a lot of pain. Maybe you're really scared, just like she was, and you don't know what to do. Well, this is certainly something that you should come investigate, because I think you'd be really pleased. It doesn't mean we can help everyone, but certainly we help a lot of people. And the only way to know is to investigate it and check it out. Anything, anything you would like to say to our viewers before we come to a close here?
If you are in that situation and you're not sure where to go and doctors are telling you surgery, definitely check out NUCCA, especially Dr. B. It is fantastic. You won't even believe it until you try it, so definitely check it out.
Okay, well, thank you for being on our video broadcast here. All right, well, I'm Jeremy Barone, and we'll see you next time.